The Ghana Immigration Service has been talking about refusing entry to several passengers who could have posed a risk to Ghana from the novel coronavirus pandemic. The refusals are in line with the travel advisory issued last Sunday, and it affects passengers arriving from countries with 200 or more cases of COVID-19. Now, we have been speaking, or we have made contact with a Ghanaian who recently made his way from the US to Ghana. And he talks about their experience at the airport in the US and how several non-Ghanaians were stopped or prevented by the airline from boarding in compliance with the directive issued by the government of Ghana. And Latif Idris is with this gentleman who is in self-imposed quarantine because he feels that he needs to do that until, or is doing that in compliance with the directive. He was told to do that at the airport. Latif Idris joins me via live view, and he's going to be speaking with him. So Latif, you tell us what this gentleman has been telling you.
Yeah, Israel, we are coming to you live from somewhere in Accra. We wouldn't want to disclose where we are broadcasting from. I mean, because the man who is going to speak to us wants us to keep his identity at the highest of secrecy, if you like. And so we are not going to disclose even where we are broadcasting from and the name or identity of the man we are going to be speaking with. I'm standing outside of the building. You see me standing behind the wall. The man I'm going to be speaking with is on the other side of the wall. And one of the protocols by the UN is that you keep a distance of at least a yard. So the social distance, protocol is being applied here to the latter. He is behind the wall. And even from where I'm standing to the wall is already, respecting the UN or World Health Organization protocol, pardon me. And so we are going to go straight to him. He returned from the US on Monday. We want to find out from you, I will not ask of your name, how easy was it for you to get on board the flights from USA to the Kotoka International Airport? How easy was it?
It wasn't easy one bit. I was due back today, the 17th, after going for a short business trip. And I was on a BA flight, 0068, from the States to London, Heathrow, then to Ghana. Then the American government issued the directive to ban all flights from the UK. So we just got notification that my flight had been cancelled. I tried other airlines on that Sunday. Tried getting to Atlanta to get KLM. Just about the time getting up, that flight was cancelled. And then we tried getting to New York to see if we can get Virgin Atlantic to get to London and connect. That one too was cancelled. So it was a very tough one. Then eventually, whilst I was working it up there, my agents too were working it down here. So they got me a Delta flight on that fateful Monday, which was coming direct and was 11:30. So after almost 48 hours of roaming around, I eventually got that ticket at 11th hour.
We will talk about how the struggle started, even at the airport when you finally got, the flight. But Israel, let's put on record that this man who is speaking with us is not carrying the coronavirus. He is not carrying it. He returned and is in self-quarantine. He is in self-quarantine. We have to put that on record. He is not a carrier of the coronavirus. Let's put that on record. So you finally got the flight and got to the airport. Tell us about the struggle at the airport.
Well, I got there. The flight was 11:30 p.m. New York time at JFK Terminal 4. I got there around 6 o'clock. Did early check-in and dropped my bag and waited at the immigration point, checked through, and then went to the gate they gave. But they changed the gate more than 4 times. And we had to move from different gate to different gate to the other gate. Then eventually, around 10:45, they opened the gate for us, I think gate B32. The total passengers on the flight, according to the screen, were like 95. So they called all those that are non-Ghanaians to check their visas and all that. They did all the protocols, and then they allowed us to board according to rows of classes. Then we all boarded the flights. I mean, all checks were made,
90
all 95 of us, 95. Because with Delta, you see the number of people on the screen. So if you want to upgrade, then you can do an upgrade there and then. So we all boarded a flight. So somewhere around 11 p.m., we're almost all set. And then 11:10, that was when they were told that we're going to go to Accra, 9 hours, blah, blah, blah. The directive and staff will be landing at 1 p.m. So and so. So we're all set, about to leave. Then the pilot comes in again and says that, sorry, there's a new directive and that some changes have come. Then some officials got onto the flight and said that there's a directive from the Ghana government that non-Ghanaians or non-resident permit holders will not be allowed into the country. Initially, we thought it was one of those things. And people were arguing, like, technically, we'll be in Ghanaian airspace by 12 p.m. So they should go. And the guys were like, nah. So most of the Americans who felt it was a bit embarrassing got off and then disembarked. But some who were Ghanaians, Americans of Ghanaian descent, felt no, we could go and we will find our way in, and it started. So it became a bit chaotic. That was around 12:30, thereabouts. Still, some of them were not willing to disembark. Then by 12:45, the pilot said, you know what, if you are not going, then plane is not going. Then shut the plane down. Everybody was disembarked. Our luggage, everything pulled down, and we came back to the boarding gate. Wow. Now, the new instruction was, if you have a Ghanaian passport or a Ghanaian resident permit holder, you are the only people to be allowed to board. And you know, some of our Ghanaians that are naturalized Americans, as of that time, the American passport didn't have any value.
So the Ghanaian passport was weighing.
Yeah, at that point, you know, some of them have dual citizenship. Some of them had American passport and Ghanaian passport. They had to ditch the American passport and push the Ghanaian passport up. And they had a point too, because they had gone through immigration, checked in, and it's like 2 a.m. And you've checked their visas and given them boarding passes. So they were very agitated and shouted on top of their voices that they will not accept. But the Delta crew will not budge, because they said that the directive was strong at Ghana, and that as a result, they will not let any of them come. So eventually, only the proud Ghanaian passport holders, for the first time, we felt good to be in a Ghanaian. And with the hassle that we've gone through, my fear was, if I were to disembark, I don't know, I didn't know my fate. Yeah. So fortunately, we came back on the flight, and I think out of the 90, barely 40, 50 people were back on board. So people were having 3 seats to themselves, 2 seats. Everybody had at least 3 seats to themselves, all spread in the flight. So that was the point. Then they closed up, and then we took off 3:05 New York time, and then arrived in Ghana 3:03 p.m. GMT on the dot. And we all just went through the process. And I think it was a very, very tough experience. And what I witnessed in the States, with the various states that I went to, the panic and all that is going on, I think we should manage the reportage and the things we say about the coronavirus very well. Else, fear will kill us before the virus even comes.
How is that? The media is there to educate the public, to update the public about where government is, where the state is in terms of this whole fight and campaign. So why do you say that if we are not careful, fear will rather kill us than COVID-19?
Well, if you look at your starting of your reportage, you first said that you're observing the 1 feet rule and all that. The first impression is people might even think that you are speaking to a virus carrier.
So you realize I went back?
Yes, you went back ahead. So that is the thing. We are not hearing people saying that this number of people have recovered. Oh, this number of people have recovered. It's an immune thing, and those that have good immune system can fight it. And we all know that fruits, vitamin C, and immune boosters help. But we are all chasing sanitizers, and some of them even don't have 70% of the alcohol that we talk about. And it's like every day we are pushing out the bad news. These people dead, these people dead, these people dead. And the fear is so much. When I got to the airport and went through immigration. They checked my temperature, and I just walked out. I didn't let my driver pick me, so I took a taxi, a Corolla, ash taxi, airport taxi at Kotoka International Airport with number G something, I forgot it, but I have it written down. And I told the taxi driver, I'm coming from the States. Do you have your mask, sanitizer and everything on? He said, no. I had no choice, I boarded it. And then I told him that I'm coming from the States. So if anything, you should know that you picked somebody like that. He said, okay. Then I alighted, came to the house. As soon as my houseboy saw me, he just stood at the gate. He didn't even come close. So I had to take off all my clothes, including you saw my shoes and everything. Since Monday, all my clothes, everything out. My bags were all cleaned, sprayed and stuff outside. And I walked into the house, empty, straight into a shower, bath with a bucket of Dettol, and decided to stay home for the quarantine period.
A stranger in your own home?
Yes, so I just stay home because we are the only people that can help ourselves. And that's why I'm saying that the talk is too much. The negative vibe is too much. It puts a lot of fear in people. And when I go home, the food that my wife has packed alone in here can feed all of us for like a month, which is not something that I might really need. The distancing and all those things are good. But my plea is, let us push the positive side of the story. The 7 people that have been affected, how is their recovery rate? How is it going up? Instead of this one has gotten one, this one has got, and then the blame game of the government. If a whole Ghana government can stop US citizens from coming in and planes will disembark, it tells you that they are doing something. What about us?
How about us? So tell us about back in the US, states that are in partial lockdown and those that are in total lockdown. How is life faring like in those states?
I was in Jersey, I was in New York, I was in Philly, and Jersey and New York were very strict. Initially, it was trickling in. All my cousins' kids have all been asked to stay home. But the interesting thing is that they are learning from home because they've all been given laptops and they're going to school online. If you have power bills, like what we call our light bills, gas bills and the rest, all has been deferred for a month. Those that are taking food stamps have been given a month in advance. Those that need to go and register their cars and insurance have all been given at 1 month advance. You can't go to any restaurant after 9, and most restaurants are doing takeout. You can't buy it from there. Most of the Uber drivers now have lost. Most of the trains are empty. People don't get onto trains and buses again because they are staying in. And it's like a full set curfew being put in place. And they have the systems to put in place. So the measures government is taking here is not very different from what they are doing. Theirs are even much more stricter. But my only challenge is that they are good intentions, but do we have the necessary systems to back it? For example, if you say you should wash your hands when you go to the bus terminals, how do we get the water to wash those hands? Do we get sachet waters to do that? And somebody will tell you, I heard on news that a station somewhere in one of those places saying that, well, they have not told us to put buckets and stuff there for us to use. You see, it's not a government that has to do that. We would have to do that. So the directives are okay, but all that we are doing is, you read social media is attack, condemn, and then the fear. I'm not reading so much of positive things. People also, for example, this vitamin C thing, immune boosters, I don't know anybody talking about it.
We are rather talking about sanitizers and other stuff. How do you feel right now?
Well, I feel traumatized. I feel, when I got in, the first thing my houseboy did made me realize that there's something amiss. And the fact that when those 7 people that were infected, they couldn't mention their names readily, they couldn't put them out there. I also felt that there will be this stigma. Should I even come out and say, oh, I've been on the flight? How many people was on that flight? Over 50 people. For the past week, how many people have been on flight and come in? How many of them have shown that they are back and they are on self-quarantine?
You have been courageous enough to speak with us. We thank you very much for your time. And you got 3 days into your quarantine?
Yeah, I'm a third day.
Third day into your quarantine in Israel. So this is a man who returned from the United States on Monday. He's been gracious enough to speak with us, comparing life here, how we are handling the whole COVID-19 situation here in Ghana, and how the government of the United States is handling it. Two different countries with two different ways of handling the pandemic, which has killed thousands across the globe and continue to wreak havoc in its trail. Back to you, Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Latif Idris, and very, very interesting story there. And Latif, I'd advise the first thing you have to do is to dip the microphone in some alcohol, some spirit, and or you probably just get rid of the microphone.